The classroom was dimly lit, shadows playing tricks on the walls. Emma's phone buzzed with a message from John.
Emma, I have a defense tonight, so I won't be able to take you back to the dorm.
Emma's eyes scanned the message and then lifted to a corner of the classroom. There, John had Jessica pinned, engaging in some inappropriate behavior. Emma had merely returned to grab a book and stumbled upon this scene.
Well, now he's my ex-boyfriend.
20 years of shared memories seemed worthless at that moment. Emma had had enough. She quietly took out her phone, capturing the memorable moment of their blissful encounter. With a swift motion, she posted it on the university's confession wall, which she managed. Watching the likes skyrocket, she pondered how much she could gain to take it down.
Emma, don't believe it. It's all photoshopped.
Oh, really? I hadn't even confronted him yet, and here he was, rushing to deny it.
Sweetie, what are you talking about?
Emma had always been seen as a dedicated academic, a graduate student oblivious to campus gossip.
Nothing. Just don't believe anything anyone tells you.
John hurriedly hung up the phone, probably scrambling to delete the post. Little did he know, Emma was the one who posted it.
Let's see how he handles this.
A notification popped up on her phone from her dual-system WeChat account.
Hello, the photo is seriously affecting my daily life. Please delete it.
Sure, 100K.
Stunned silence followed. Emma put down her phone, feeling an emptiness inside. In the spacious four-person dorm, Emma was the only one left. The others had gone out to have fun. She got along well with her roommates, but stayed behind to work on a national competition project. Sitting alone, she looked at her reflection in the mirror, pale, always in a hoodie and jeans. It wasn't entirely unreasonable for John to seek someone else. Jessica, the other woman, was Emma's arch-nemesis. They were polar opposites. Emma's family was well known in the affluent circles of City A, but she didn't care much for material things. She didn't wear branded clothes, didn't wear makeup, and didn't go out much. She spent her days in the library or the lab, a quiet presence that blended into the background. Jessica, on the other hand, had a modest bank account but never ran out of luxury items. Her boyfriends were either handsome or wealthy. She was always dressed to the nines, with heavy makeup, known as the social butterfly of the campus, nicknamed Jessica the Enchantress. She was indeed enchanting, fair-skinned, with a small face and a stunning figure and a bold, flamboyant personality. Jessica had everything going for her, except she loved to compete with Emma. And now, she had even gotten involved with Emma's boyfriend. Emma's roommates burst into the room, their eyes locked onto her with concern.
Emma, you.
I saw the confession wall. If we break up, we break up. The next one will be better.
Her roommates swarmed around her, trying to comfort her with stories of their day.
John was my first love.
Emma's voice trembled, and her roommates' chatter made her uneasy. She pushed them away, finally breaking down and crying.
20 years of feelings can't just disappear.
One roommate handed her tissues, another patted her back, and a third cursed out John. Emma cried for 2 hours, transforming into a teary-eyed mess.
Do you know any fun amusement parks nearby?
Disneyland. It's very close.
Emma had a habit of visiting amusement parks when she felt down. She quickly booked a week's leave and a 5-star hotel for an impromptu trip. After booking the tickets, she asked her roommates for travel tips. Her phone buzzed, catching her attention.
500,000, either we meet at the police station or you take what you can get.
John tried to negotiate and even threatened her. The photos Emma posted on the wall were the most discreet ones, showing only two people in an intimate moment and their clear faces.
If he dares to threaten me.
Emma decided to send him more explicit photos from her album, feeling disgusted with each one. Meanwhile, Jessica was angrily cursing John over the phone.
Who do you think you are? How dare you bully our Emma? In ancient times, you'd be punished severely for this. Emma liking you was the best thing that ever happened to you. Do you even know who she is?
Emma stopped Jessica just in time before she revealed her identity. She had never told John about her family background.
Why stop me? If he knew you're worth millions, he'd be furious.
Exactly.
Everyone guessed how shocked John would be when he found out the truth. After seeing the photos, John begged her all night. By morning, Emma had received a flood of messages from him.
My girlfriend doesn't want any rumors spreading. You know how bad that can be for a girl. Please, let us go. How about 800,000? Okay, 1 million. Just delete the photos first, and I'll pay.
Emma hadn't even said a word, and he was already convincing himself. She quickly sent him her bank account number.
After being with him for so long, I know exactly how much money he has.
After sending the message, Emma grabbed her packed luggage and asked Michael to drive her to the resort. Michael was her personal driver and part-time bodyguard. She realized she had been using her secondary account to deal with John and forgot to officially break up with him using her main account.
Hey, Emma, what's up? I'm in the middle of an experiment.
Are you experimenting or being experimented on?
She heard a distinct pause in his breathing, followed by a coquettish female voice.
Why are you so quick?
Emma, let me explain. Break up.
She cut him off, not wanting to hear another word from them. Michael, ever the professional, pretended not to hear anything. But for some reason, he seemed distracted today, constantly texting someone. During the 3-hour drive, Emma thought about all the happy memories with John, ready to replace them with new ones from the amusement park. The car stopped at the hotel entrance, and someone helped with the parking. A private guide escorted Michael and Emma to the amusement park entrance. Disneyland truly is the happiest place on earth. Just approaching it made Emma smile uncontrollably.
To hell with men. I was here to be happy.
As she went through the entrance check, she noticed a tour guide holding a flag and a microphone, looking rather out of place. He was incredibly handsome. The handsome guy kept glancing my way, making me seriously suspect he found me attractive. That was until I noticed Michael eagerly waving at him. Oh, turns out he's gay. My first potential romance after a breakup was blocked by Michael. How frustrating.
This is the happiest place on earth. No one can make me angry here.
After passing the entrance check, Emma sprinted towards the Tron Light Cycle Power Run area, ignoring Michael who was still at security, shouting her name.
Emma! Wait up!
At a corner of the park, a familiar red dress caught Emma's eye, making her stop abruptly, almost flying forward from the inertia. Standing there were Jessica and John.
Weren't they just in bed a few hours ago? And now they're at Disneyland? Do they really want me to lose my temper in such a happy place?
John noticed Emma too and, surprised, let go of Jessica's slender waist.
Emma, you followed us? I knew you were just saying things in anger. Let's hang out together, Jessica won't mind.
It's just a coincidence. Who wants to hang out with you too?
A cheerful voice came from behind Emma. Turning around, she saw the handsome tour guide from earlier. He caught her eye and signaled for her to play along.
Need a hand?
Emma walked over and linked arms with him, brushing past John and giving him a hard shove. It felt so satisfying.
Thanks, but let's part ways here. You can wait for Michael, he'll be here soon. He has my location on his phone. I'll wait with you for 5 minutes.
Out of respect for love, Emma decided to let them be. The handsome guy, however, looked puzzled.
I'm not here for Michael.
Fine, money solves everything. Emma took out a card with 500,000 from her bag and handed it to him.
No password, thanks for today.
In his shocked and confused gaze, Emma ran off. To avoid running into the jerk again, she went straight to the visitor center and arranged for a park guide to take her through the VIP lanes. Money really does make things easier. By noon, Emma had already toured most of the park in a sightseeing car, sipping drinks and having the guide plan her itinerary, pure bliss.
Want a lift?
Of course, when she ran into John a few times, both of them were sweating and exhausted from walking. Meanwhile, Emma was comfortably seated, drinking and enjoying the ride. She'd kindly ask, and just as John agreed, she'd have the driver speed off. The park was fun, but without a handsome guy to accompany her, it felt a bit dull. In hindsight, she should have used that 500,000 as a fee for his company.
Miss, where are you?
Michael's phone system requires him to be within 100 meters of Emma during work hours, or it's considered absenteeism. This software was developed by an unknown university professor and sold to her dad. Emma didn't want Michael to use such an inhumane app, but he insisted.
Come to Disney Town, I'll meet you there.
Before she could finish, someone snatched her phone.
Can you stop running so fast?
It was the handsome guy from this morning. Snatching her phone like that wasn't very polite.
What are you doing?
She felt someone grab her wrist and pull her to a bench.
I've been following you all morning. Can you please calm down?
His phone suddenly beeped, sounding like Michael's system when it checks in nearby.
You heard wrong.
He handed her a bottle of water from his guide bag.
I'm David. You should know me.
I really don't.
David looked stunned for a few seconds, then quickly composed himself, stood up, and formally introduced himself.
David, a professor in the computer science department at a university, also known as the genius.
So dramatic.
Now that he mentioned it, Emma did recall something. Her department has 3 professors, her current advisor, John's advisor, and a genius professor she's never met but heard a lot about.
Wow, can't meet him at school, but he shows up here as a tour guide? That's quite the career change.
Just as David sat down, the annoying couple appeared again. What a coincidence, or fate. In such a large park, they've run into each other 4 or 5 times in one morning.
Emma, can't you see how exhausted we are? Why didn't you give us a ride? How can you be so selfish?
Who are they?
David looked at John and the flirtatious Jessica with a puzzled expression. Jessica didn't seem to like John much.
Don't know them. Probably beggars.
After driving away the 2 thick-skinned individuals, I began to carefully observe the people around me.
You, a mentor, playing tour guide? Even if you're broke, you don't have to be this down and out.
Haha, amusing. My mom didn't want to lead a tour group to Disneyland, so she dumped the job on me. I landed at 3 or 4 in the morning and started working at 7.
David used a tissue to wipe the water off the corner of Emma's mouth.
Why are you chasing after me? After the tour ends, find a place to rest.
I just had a feeling you were my lucky star and wanted to follow you. Is that okay?
David became like a persistent shadow, sticking with Emma as they went through the remaining attractions. Finally, after their third ride on the Tron Light Cycle Power Run, he pulled Emma to a bench and fell asleep on her shoulder.
Lucy, little Lucy.
Out of gratitude for his company, Emma asked Michael to buy some green rice balls and brought them over. Michael, seeing David asleep on her shoulder, gave a knowing smile.
You awake? Here, I got you some rice balls.
The weight lifted from Emma's shoulder as David stirred. She handed him the rice ball, and coincidentally, it ended up right by his mouth. He hesitated for a moment before taking a bite. Michael laughed out loud, but David gave him a look that made him stop immediately. After a long day of fun, David quickly finished the rice ball in Emma's hand and answered a call.
What's going on? I asked you to cover for me, and now you're missing?
Who is it?
My mom.
The voice on the other end was loud and angry.
Who's with you? Oh, I get it. I'll go pick up the tourists. You enjoy your date.
With the rice balls finished and the attractions done, it was time for Emma to head back to the hotel for some much-needed sleep. Just as she stood up, her numb arm was gently held by a large hand.
How about I treat you to dinner? Or maybe a massage as compensation?
Dinner sounds good.
Michael naturally resumed his role as the driver and took them to the most upscale restaurant in the city.
Good evening. Are the four of you together?
Just as David and Emma were about to enter, two figures squeezed in beside them. It was that annoying couple again.
Emma, have you been following us all day just to get my attention? I won't break up with you.
Feeling the atmosphere grow awkward, Emma stepped outside for some fresh air before the food arrived. John shamelessly followed her.
We've been together for so long, and the most we've done is kiss. I'm a normal man, Emma. My relationship with Jessica is purely physical.
So you got involved with Jessica? Don't you know she's my arch nemesis?
Jessica is a good girl, not what you think.
David, showing perfect timing, came out of the room just then.
Dinner's ready, Lucy. Let's eat.
The warmth from his hand as he took Emma's and pulled her back to his side made her feel unexpectedly nervous.
Professor, we need to talk.
A good teacher doesn't talk to unfaithful students.
David didn't even turn around, giving John nothing but a cold. After years of uncertainty, Anna finally understood why David had come into her life. Inside the room, tension was palpable as Jessica and David struggled to remain composed. Earlier, Jessica had appeared the picture of a devoted girlfriend, sitting beside John in her coat. Now, she was down to just a camisole, the air thick with the overpowering scent of Chanel's Chance.
Don't you think the perfume is too strong? It's unbearable.
Ignoring Jessica's simmering anger, David went about setting the table for Anna with a thoughtful precision she had never received from John in over a decade. John entered, his eyes flickering with complex emotions as he took in the scene.
Anna, don't you have hands?
None of your business.
The table was a battlefield of emotions, one calm, two angry, and Anna, feeling awkward. It wasn't dining with her ex-boyfriend that unsettled her, but the unexpected attentiveness from David. With the dishes yet to be served, David initiated the conversation.
I heard from your advisor that neither of your competition papers has passed yet. They are due next Monday. Have you revised them? How do you have time to come out and play?
David, a prodigy in his field and looking no older than 26, exuded an air of authority as he discussed academics. John tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but David persisted.
Consider it an honor to receive my guidance. Show me your papers.
The two sheepishly sent their papers to David's email, turning what should have been a pleasant meal into a critique session. Anna found it quite amusing.
Don't laugh. You send yours too.
Just as Anna was about to enjoy the spectacle, David roped her into the situation.
What kind of rubbish have you two written?
Staring at his phone in silence for less than 10 minutes, David's words froze them just as the dishes arrived. Seizing the moment, Anna grabbed a Boston lobster claw and started eating. Jessica's glare could have pierced through steel.
That one eating, you did well. Have some more.
Placing another lobster claw and slices of foie gras in her bowl, David's tone shifted, causing even more tension.
Growl.
Can't even write a paper and still want to eat?
But we paid for this.
Jessica, what are you saying? It's only right to treat our advisor to a meal.
With that, David paused his scolding and, alongside Anna, quickly finished all the dishes. The meal, which must have cost tens of thousands, stood in stark contrast to John's past frugality. Satisfied, Anna stood up, glanced at the nearly fainting couple, and loudly declared her thanks before walking out.
Thanks for the treat.
The moonlight was beautiful that night, and Anna found herself in an unexpectedly good mood. Emma waited in the car for David, unsure why, but feeling compelled to do so.
I thought you'd leave right after using me.
What do you mean by using? How could a teacher speak like this?
Using my connections, of course. Otherwise, you'd wait forever for him to invite you to a fancy dinner.
Emma suspected he had planned it all out, deliberately choosing that restaurant. David had mentioned how he professionally pointed out the strengths and weaknesses of both papers before coming out. But his tone made her feel like he was scheming. Michael drove Emma back to the hotel, and David got out of the car too.
No place to stay. Can you take me in?
Without waiting for her consent, David took his ID, checked in, and walked straight into Emma's room with his bag.
You sleep on the couch, I'll take the bed.
Emma had booked a suite, and the couch outside was big enough to fit two of her. It should be fine for a man around 6 feet 3 inches tall.
You're so stingy.
We just met today. Don't you think you're being a bit presumptuous? It's already nice of me to take you in. Either share a standard room with Michael or get your own.
Emma liked handsome guys, but they'd only known each other for a day. No matter how good-looking, they couldn't share a bed. Even John hadn't had this privilege in over 10 years. Seeing that Emma was genuinely angry, David looked as pitiful as a puppy, completely different from his usual domineering demeanor. He silently walked to the couch, lay down, and pulled his coat over himself. Emma sighed, feeling a bit guilty. She asked the front desk to send up a blanket and handed it to David.
Thank you.
He lay down again, curling up and pulling the small blanket over himself.
Why don't you come to the bed?
Before Emma finished her sentence, David leaped up from the couch, clutching his small blanket, and dashed to the king-sized bed. He lay on the bed, his eyelashes fluttering, looking at Emma expectantly. Emma set up a makeshift barrier with the blanket, and after they both took turns showering, they lay down. Emma was exhausted from the day's activities and fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. In a daze, Emma smelled a familiar scent and felt a large hand around her waist. It was oddly comforting.
Lucy!
The person beside her jolted, tightening their grip around her waist.
Oh, oh, oh! Let go of me!
Sorry.
He didn't let go. instead burying his head in her neck, his breath warm and damp. David was crying.
Lucy, please don't leave.
I'm Emma, not Lucy.
The makeshift barrier was gone, and David was holding Emma. They were both on the right side of the bed, taking up very little space. At least their clothes were still on. Emma felt a bit nostalgic for his familiar yet strange embrace. After a moment's hesitation, she broke free.
If you want to play the substitute game, stay away from me.
Emma put on her slippers, not bothering to count how many times he'd taken advantage of her, and directly issued an eviction order.
You can go back to school. They'll arrange accommodation for you.
David, still lying on the bed, sat up slightly, his eyes dim. After a moment of thought, he regained his mentor-like demeanor.
John and Jessica have both applied for the National Project Evaluation. He's been pre-selected. Do you want...
Narrator, tone, serious Emma was determined to compete for John's project. She and David were already on their way to her house. Ever since Grandma passed away, Mom had only returned 3 times, for Grandma's funeral, Emma's graduation party, and just 2 days ago. Coincidentally, it seemed she flew back from the US on the same day as David.
Michael, can you drive properly? Ever since David appeared by my side, Michael has been like a bystander, his eyes darting between the two of us, grinning nonstop. If he keeps staring, he might as well count my eyelashes today.
Michael, tone, cheerful. I just think Miss and Mr. David make a great pair.
Well said, I'll give you a raise. Wait a minute, isn't Michael my driver? How can he give Michael a raise?
The car drove into the South Hill Villa of City A. The largest and tallest villa there was Emma's home, which she visited less than 3 times a year.
Mom, tone. Surprised you're here? Faster than I expected. As Emma changed her shoes at the entrance, she barely had time to chat with her mom before David was already deep in conversation with her. Mom, tone. Serious, Emma, just like before, put it in the room. Her mom, in between chatting with David about some facility project, spared her a sentence. Not understanding their conversation, Emma went upstairs.
Every 2 to 3 months, Emma's mom sent her clothes in bags, always a plane full of goods. Her 3 walk-in closets were already full. She hardly used any of them. Previously, to invest in John's research project, she even sold a few bags. Thinking about it now, it felt unlucky. Uncharacteristically, Emma picked a high-end custom-made long dress from the closet, a waist-cinching style that fit her perfectly. It must have been tailored to her measurements by Mom.
Mom, tone. Serious, Emma, come here for a moment. Wearing the bright red dress, Emma slowly descended the stairs. Her mom had no reaction, but David was stunned, looking at her, as if she were a treasure, which she quite enjoyed. Mom, tone. Amused, wipe your drool. David, embarrassed by his earlier behavior, actually wiped his mouth with his hand, causing his ears to turn red. Mom, tone. Serious, a bet is a bet. I'm entrusting Emma to you. If you dare treat her poorly, I'll make you pay dearly.
Emma, tone, confused. Wait, can someone tell me what's going on? Did Mom lose me to David in some unknown bet?
David, tone, serious. All right, Mom, I won't let you down. Emma felt like that red household register, handed over to David without any say in the matter.
Emma, tone, shouting, wait! Doesn't anyone want to hear what I have to say? Mom ignored her, and David fished out her ID card from her bag, calling out to Michael. The 2 of them practically carried her to the car.
Emma was inexplicably taken to the Civil Affairs Bureau, and then, just as inexplicably, got a marriage certificate.
David, tone, friendly Emma, you look absolutely stunning today.
Emma, tone, Angry, can you explain what's going on? David, the cunning fox, had a house in City A. Last night, he pretended he had nowhere to go, claiming, of course, a marital home should be moved into together.
What nonsense, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Emma, tone, serious, tell me, why?
David, tone, serious, do you remember how your grandma passed away? Grandma had been gone for a long time, and his mention of it brought back a buried memory. 16 years ago, an earthquake struck City A, destroying the main urban area. The old house where Grandma and Emma lived also collapsed.
Emma, tone, sad. I only remember Grandma being buried underneath and not being saved. David casually placed a green rice ball in her hand.
David, tone, serious, your mom said Grandma's passing hit you hard, and you selectively forgot some things, including me. Then David stopped talking, focusing on eating the rice ball.
Emma hated people who left things half-said. She was furious. No matter how much she coaxed and pestered, he wouldn't mention it again.
David, tone, gentle, if it's a bad memory, let's not talk about it. If you remember someday, we'll discuss it then. Be good. David's hand covered her head, ruffling her hair casually. David, tone, serious, let me tell you another secret. John and Jessica's competition project was done by a ghostwriter. If he was trying to divert her attention, he succeeded. Good grief, daring to use a ghostwriter in a national competition, John must be out of his mind.
Due to this shocking news, I decided to cut my vacation short and head back to school to watch the drama unfold. Although we had gotten our marriage certificate and were living together, I hadn't let this wolf share my bed.
I'll go to school with you tomorrow morning. Wake me up at 7.
I don't like setting alarms. The sound feels like it could snatch my soul away. David's eyes brightened, and he agreed wholeheartedly before obediently returning to his room. The result was that at 3 in the morning, I was awakened by his knocking on my door. He stood there holding a clock that had clearly been tampered with.
It's 7! I'm here to wake you up!
Still groggy and disoriented, I tried to discern if it was true. My body unconsciously fell back onto the bed. I felt the mattress sink slightly beside me. It smelled nice, really nice. I had a dream about the earthquake years ago. I was hiding in the corner of a room, the golden triangle saving my life. Grandma was just a wall away, but the metallic scent in the air told me she wasn't doing well.
Grandma, I called out repeatedly in the dark ruins, feeling helpless and terrified. I struggled to break free from the debris, but it was futile. I was trapped in this darkness, unable to escape.
Who are you?
A weak, childish voice came from a small gap. It must have been the neighbor's kid. He didn't sound well either. In the narrow space, I could faintly hear the sound of someone tapping on a water pipe.
Is that you, Grandma?
Clang.
Grandma.
Clang. It was Grandma responding to me. She was still alive.
Grandma, I'm hungry.
There was no response this time, but I saw a hint of green squeezing through a gap in the corner. It was the green rice ball Grandma had made a couple of days ago. I carefully moved my body to pick up the rice ball, trying to touch Grandma's hand through the gap. All I heard was a thud, the sound of flesh hitting concrete. I thought Grandma had gone back and didn't realize what had happened.
I'm hungry too. Can you share a bit with me?
I found a gap to pass him half of the rice ball.
I can't move. Can you push it a bit more to feed me?
I did as he asked.
Thank you, Lucy. My fingertip was kissed in gratitude.
Lucy, it's really time to get up now.
It turned out he was that child. David forcefully pulled me up, my mind still wandering. He slowly helped me get dressed and indicated for me to wash up. I was forced to brush my teeth and eat breakfast. Today, he personally drove me to school. The license plate was recognizable as a teacher's number. It was my first time being driven to the dormitory building.
Emma, why are you back? Yesterday, Professor Smith was furious in the lab.
Professor Smith was John and Jessica's advisor.
Apparently, John plagiarized project data. I heard he took a leave to go out and play, but was called back by the professor at midnight.
These two were quite unlucky, getting called back to school and scolded without even having dinner. My roommates were happy to see the scumbag get his comeuppance. I didn't feel the same. Knowing John for so many years, despite our personal issues, he didn't seem like someone who would fake data.
Anna, meet me at the stadium at 9:30.
The sun must have risen from the west. This smelled like a conspiracy. But in broad daylight, there shouldn't be any kidnapping or murder plots, so I went to the stadium as agreed.
John's falsification was my doing.
Weren't these two close? Why the internal conflict? The stadium was empty, with only the occasional sound of a basketball hitting the ground. Jessica's gaze was fixed on a boy playing basketball.
My dad owes gambling debts. He said if I spent time with him, he'd give me $5,000 each time. I agreed. That boy with the ball is someone I like, but I'll never be good enough for him now.
So even social butterflies have moments of insecurity.
It was a fair trade, but I hate John more than you. So for this competition, I tripped him up. The experimental data he took from me was entirely copied from elsewhere.
Why are you telling me this?
To apologize. David will help me stay.
The auditorium was bustling with excitement. I prepared 2 bottles of water and brought them to David during the intermission.
Did you do it?
She agreed to it.
And the amusement park?
I bribed Mike a long time ago. I know your schedule inside out.
My mom.
I have business dealings with her company, and I know Mike through those connections. Before I returned to the country, she said that if I could get you to willingly take me home within 2 days, she would hand over the household registration book.
David lifted his shirt to wipe his sweat, revealing his skin and the allure of his presence, which captivated me completely. It turns out someone could be so meticulous, just to win me over. In the graduate students group chat, Professor Smith announced the criticism of 2 people.
One was John for academic misconduct. The second was David for being involved in a romantic relationship with a student.
The professor got married? Congratulations. Who's the bride? Can't wait to hear the gossip.
At Anna, your professor's bride. From now on, let's get along as classmates. Great, I was sold out directly. The dorm group chat exploded, and the news spread quickly. Even students from other schools came to congratulate me.
What are you doing?
Don't you know how popular I am? After playing basketball for a while, several girls came to ask for my contact info. Aren't you worried, Emma?
I was tricked into marriage. How much affection could I have for you? I hung up the phone in frustration, hearing the sound of metal clinking against my chest. When did I put on this necklace? It even had a silver ring hanging from it. I sat in the chair, while David was still on the basketball court. This man was indeed extraordinarily charming. John's issue was handled swiftly. He was expelled. Jessica was put on probation, but her reputation suffered due to the photos.
Emma, why did you do this?
It was a message from a secondary WeChat account. It seemed John knew I was running the campus wall.
Let's meet at the cafe near our middle school.
Out of respect for our years of friendship, I chose to wear my wedding ring, dressed in a high-end outfit Mom bought, and took David to the cafe. John ordered the coffee I loved in high school. He didn't expect me to bring David along.
I regret it, Emma. Can we start over?
Impossible. John, did you know? The U group belongs to my family. In just a year, I would have handed you the share transfer agreement. But you didn't live up to it.
He wasn't wealthy. The last meal he was scammed into paying for probably cost him most of his savings. I watched as his composure slowly crumbled.
I'll cover this coffee.
Before leaving, David waved a $100 bill at John and slapped it on the table.
Emma, did I do well?
Yes.
Then don't I deserve a reward?
Damn, tricked again. We walked away. In the late autumn season, the ground was covered in golden leaves.
Why couldn't I find you after you left the hospital?
David was momentarily stunned.
My mom took me abroad for a few months. I only returned after a city was rebuilt. By then, you no longer lived where you used to. I attended the high school next to yours and climbed the wall every day to find you, only to see you holding hands with John, walking around the playground. I ranked first in several joint exams and went to your school to give speeches, but you never showed up.
I never participated in such meaningless activities. Because of my good grades, the homeroom teacher allowed my behavior.
So many opportunities, and you never saw me once. So I approached your mom.
David said he started working on projects as soon as he entered university, collaborating with companies to develop programs, and won a bid with my mom's company.
Why did you do all this?
To repay the kindness of sharing half of your rice ball with me back then, and to plan for my future.
David's words trailed off. The air around us was filled with pink bubbles. A photo of us kissing in the golden forest was taken by someone and posted on the campus wall. The photo was nice, I kept it. The next day, the photo went viral at school again. Both classmates and teachers knew that in this romantic season, there was a couple on campus, and they were very happy. Can a fool be loved? A fool is too foolish. Can't think of an answer. He asked a genius, and the genius